Hi guys and girls, before I get into the video I just wanted to say a couple of things. Firstly, thank you to everyone who takes the time to tune into my videos and to all of you who have subscribed so far. If the channel starts to get bigger, I'm considering doing a Q&A type of video, so let me know what you guys think about that. Lastly, I apologise if my voice sounds a little off. I've been feeling ill recently and I've had a really sore throat, so recording is a bit of a struggle. But I'm going to do my best to still put videos out there for you guys. Anyway, that being said, I hope you enjoy the following stories, and once again, thank you.
Number 1.
I'm not sure if this counts as an alien or not, but I definitely saw something I can't explain at all about 5 years ago, and I've been dying to tell the story in a thread ever since. So about 5 years ago, me and 2 other friends were on our way back from Warped Tour in Maryland, being driven by one of our friends' mums, mainly because none of us had a car as we could not drive yet. It was almost night, the sun was still out, so it wasn't that dark yet, and we were driving on a 2-lane highway that had trees on either side of the road and a median in the middle. Basically, some creature ran out from the trees on the other side of the highway, jumped the median and sprinted towards the trees on our side. We almost hit the thing and our friend's mum had to slam on the brakes hard. Everyone in the car was screaming our heads off, not because it was a look out for that deer situation, but because this was the scariest looking thing I've ever seen. It was black, had long gangly limbs and moppy black stringy hair. This thing moved so damn weird, I can see it clearly to this day. It galloped so awkwardly, did not run at all like a deer or anything of the sort. When it jumped off the back 2 legs and landed again on the back 2 legs, before coming down and galloping across the road. Everyone in the car said the same thing, which was, what the hell was that thing? To this day, I am convinced it was a demon or an alien, or some kind of medical experiment. It was large and terrifying, and the way it moved was unlike anything I have ever seen in my life. I wish I had more details, but sadly, that's all I remember. I've asked my friends and that friend's mum about it numerous times, and years after the fact, it still gives everyone shivers.
Number 2.
Around 1981, I was a kid in rural Montgomery County, Indiana. It was a perfectly clear day, and I was playing in the front lawn of my neighbour's house with my brother. Pat, my dad, was an Indiana State Trooper at the time, and I think that's relevant because we had spent most of our lives around helicopters. I knew that these things could hover in place, made a lot of noise and wind, and I knew what they should look like. My brother and I looked up. Over the left side of the roof of my neighbour's house, we saw 2 silver saucers. They were slowly rotating, and they were perhaps 100 metres away. One was slightly higher than the other, maybe overlapping just a tad. We watched them for a few minutes just sitting there. This was a perfectly clear sunny day, and after some time they both accelerated to a ridiculous speed towards the east. We ran inside and told my parents. Honestly, it was so insane that if my brother hadn't have been there, and if my parents didn't recall us freaking out over these, I'd probably try and write it off as a dream. I've told my UFO story many times, but there's another part of it I prefer to think this was a dream. Because while I can no longer deny the existence of UFOs, this is a bit more sketchy. I was around 3 or 4, which is where most people stop listening, but my memories from that time in my life are extremely vivid. Much of it feels like it happened a week ago. So I go to bed one night, my security blanket at my side, much like my iPhone these days. I wouldn't be caught anywhere without that goddamn blankie. It's a tad white trashy, but it had a cigarette burn on the edge of it, which for some reason I liked. I had a dream that night that was pretty vivid. I was in a large dark room. I don't recall being able to see the ceiling. I was walking along a walkway that had a railing, and along the sides and all over this room were holes in the floor. I recall convincing myself that things must live in there, although I never saw anything. In front of me and to the right was a bright area with beings of some sort who were interested in me. I have absolutely no recollection what they looked like. While walking towards that light, I dropped my blanket down in one of the holes. Yeah, as you guessed, that bit is going to be key later on. I recall feeling humiliated as these things examined me, Yep, even the usual things that we heard about during so-called abductions, which I don't entirely want to spell out, but I don't remember it being a very good time. I woke up the next morning and my blanket was gone. I don't care who you are, you're not going to forget that at any stage in your life. We looked everywhere for it. I never had a history of sleepwalking, and our home was kind of small. I remember my parents looking everywhere for that blanket, but it was just gone. It was a yellow blanket, and of course I needed a replacement. The replacement was blue, and my mum had to replace her signature cigarette burn. I'm a very skeptical person, and I really prefer to think of this as a dream, but the physical loss of that blanket and the actual UFO sighting my brother and I experienced around that time makes it really hard to not tie together. It's the weirdest thing that happened to me to this day.